Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
We have finally made it to week 0. It has been a very long off season, but before we get down to breaking down these two games, be sure to subscribe to our podcast because starting next week, these weekly preview and recap shows are going to be audio only. So we're still going to have some YouTube content, but really audio is where it's at. So we've got links in the description on YouTube to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Be sure to subscribe. But let's get to these games. So Trey, Hawaii at UCLA is the first game we're going to discuss. The Bruins are a 17-point favorite.
I'm going to lay the points. I'm taking the Bruins. I'm bullish on Chip Kelly's squad this year, so I don't really want to go against them in week 1. And I just don't think this is a good matchup for Hawaii. They're projected to have one of the weaker defenses, according to the metrics, and the Bruins should have one of the better offenses in all the land. I can see DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, having a monster game behind their strongest offensive line they've had in years. The Bruins' pass defense does worry me a little bit, so Hawaii's Cordero could have a decent day, but I just don't think they have the firepower to match the Bruins score for score.
I agree. I think UCLA is just too much for them, particularly on the ground. I think Hawaii's rush defense really struggled last year, and I really like what UCLA did on the ground last year, led by DTR, of course, who's a dual threat quarterback. So I think they're going to be able to kind of pick their number on offense. I could see them getting to the 50s, and Hawaii's going to put up some points. This UCLA defense has some holes on it, and they're not going to be lights out. But all in all, just not enough to keep up with DTR, and who's really actually played pretty darn well last year. So I'm taking the Bruins minus 17.
Should be an exciting game because the over-under, I think, is like 70 and a half right now. So will be a lot of points. I do like UCLA this year. I'm probably going to be betting them, when it comes to that LSU game. But here, I don't know. 17 is just a lot of points for me. So I'm going to go the other way. I like Hawaii. Todd Graham is a good coach. He's now in year 2. He's got everyone back on defense. I know they've got a good secondary. I know they struggled mightily against the run. They do add Pita Tonga, a defensive tackle from Utah, who played a good amount there. So hopefully that should help things a little bit there. And I think Hawaii should be able to run the ball effectively against this UCLA defense. Chevy Cordero at quarterback is a good runner. Calvin Turner was really good last year, transferring in from, I believe, Jacksonville State, something like that. So he's exciting. And UCLA last year was second to last in the Pac-12 in rushing success rate allowed. So maybe they can keep up there. But moving on, the game we are most excited about, we got Nebraska minus 6.5 at Illinois. What do you think, Ryan?
I don't know. I'm kind of dreading the game, honestly.
It's a nerve-wracking one for us Husker fans.
I mean, season's on the line for Nebraska. They lose. Check, adios. I'm done. Podcast has been real. I'm going with the Illini here. I know they have a new coach in Brett Bielema. And maybe opening with a conference opponent would be tough for a brand new coach. But they actually have a pretty good amount of experience coming back on that team. Not a ton of quality depth, but maybe in the first game that is less of a factor than you worry about maybe mid-year. And Nebraska just has not proven that they can easily take care of any Big Ten opponent. So, and especially one that beat them last year pretty handily in Lincoln, which this Illini team did. So count me out of the Husker bandwagon, and I'll take the Illini plus the points.
I mean, I can see why you would go there. Illinois, I think, is number 1 in the country in terms of returning super seniors. There's 22 super seniors on the team. So
wow.
It's not like the cupboard is empty for Bielema. And you mentioned, I know they beat Nebraska last year, but that was the game when Nebraska put in Luke McCaffrey, and he was horrendous. So that was definitely an outlier, I think, for both teams. By far, Nebraska's worst game, and probably by far Illinois' best game. So I don't put too much stock into that game with McCaffrey at quarterback. I'm going with Nebraska here. I don't think Brandon Peters scares you much at quarterback. He's been pretty inefficient in his career. And I think this could be a good matchup for Nebraska's passing game, which we're hoping at the very least is going to take a big step forward this year because you've got Samori Toure coming in from Montana. Omar Manning was, a big recruit, a big JUCO transfer a couple years ago. So they have a ton of potential, and they're going up against an Illinois secondary that's pretty suspect. So that's what leads me to take Nebraska.
right.
Don't feel
Hope
great
you're
about
right,
it,
Michael.
but that's my pick.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Huskers too. They've won 4 of the last 5 in this series, and we've all touched on last year's game. They lost the turnover battle 5-0. The first play of the game, Nebraska threw a backwards pass. Illinois scored a couple plays later, and Adrian Martinez only played a handful of snaps. So I'm like basically tossing.
How much you want to bet that happens again?
I'll take that bet.
I wouldn't put it past it.
And we don't really know what Bielema's squad's going to look like, because it's not going to be your traditional Bielema team, because he's brought in a blend of coaches from all different programs. So it's not going to be that prototypical Wisconsin feel that he had, a few years back. And Illinois' season win total for the season is 3.5. So there's not a ton of expectations there. So I think the Huskers can capitalize in week 0, and I just think they're a little bit better on both sides of the ball.
One thing that does worry me is I do like the hire that Bielema made at defensive coordinator, Ryan Walters from Missouri. He did a very good job there. So if he's able to get that experienced defense up to snuff real quickly, then could be trouble. But we will see. That'll do it for our first preview episode for the College Football Bros podcast. Like I said, be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you're watching on YouTube. And we will be back next week with our week 1 preview, which is absolutely loaded. So can't wait to talk to you then.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.